to episode 2 of the Hammer at Bet Sports podcast under the Ramblin Gamblin family. I want to say hi to our co-host Charlie. How are you holding up right now? So
I'm
it looks like a different background than we had last time.
yeah, I'm home for Thanksgiving at my parents' house, so recording out of the childhood bedroom for tonight.
Nice. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about is the NBA Finals. LeBron gets his number 4, but honestly, doesn't seem like too many people care that much. What's your take on this?
I think it's just because it was expected. They kind of steamrolled through the playoffs. They went what 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, 4-2. I think.
Yeah, they went pretty handily.
Yeah, I don't think
They
people
never reached a game 7.
Yeah, I don't think people saw Miami as a threat. So I don't know. It's not that it discounts winning a title. I just think everyone was expecting it, so it's not that big of a deal in a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there that are gonna discredit what LeBron's done anyway, but like it's kind of hard to argue. Him and Jordan are the only two guys to have 4 Finals MVPs, 4 championships, and 4 regular season MVPs. So, I mean, it's not what you can discredit him. The guy's clearly one of the best of all time, if not the best.
Oh, definitely.
That is up for discussion.
Definitely. I don't I see already the replies on Twitter that this ring doesn't count. And I hate that narrative so much because the playoff format was the same for every team. So, like, why doesn't it count?
Well,
I get it's a little different.
not only
but it
was it
still
the
counts.
same for every team, like the whole bubble concept, I think it makes it harder, if anything. Like, you're away from all your family and stuff. Like, yeah, maybe they had a extra bit of rest because like the play-in games didn't really matter to them. But
Yeah,
I mean, like,
that's how it would have been in
do
the
we
regular
really think
season.
any?
Though. Like if the season was
Is it
normal,
really gonna affect? Yeah. Well, yeah. Is it really gonna affect anybody else that's like from 6 down that like they're trying to get into the playoffs when there's really they have no chance at winning?
no. Like if they continued the season like normally, if there wasn't any COVID, they would have rested those last 10 games anyways, or 5 games, whatever it would have been.
Exactly.
So I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then people are complaining that like Devin Booker and these kind of guys weren't in the playoffs, or it's like,
Well,
man, he had the first 70 games to play good.
yeah, yeah, it's great that they played great in the bubble, but the bubble wasn't the whole season, so.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I mean, the Heat, they battled, but ultimately they fell to a few key players, Dragic and Adebayo having injuries, and
Yeah, it's
I mean they
unfortunate.
really couldn't contain Davis or LeBron for that long. So
Yeah,
I mean
there's
they put up a good fight, but ultimately they didn't really stand a chance.
there's no shame losing to the best player in the world, so.
Yeah, especially in the NBA, a star-driven league.
Yeah,
I mean, not much you can really do there, in my opinion.
no. But
All
it's
right.
nice to see LeBron win. I like LeBron. I like that story of him just dominating for 10 plus years. So
Yeah, it should be good, especially with the Warriors probably going to be able to load up again next year.
Oh, yeah.
Any sort of like narrative with that, and then I'm sure Kawhi's going to want a little bit of revenge on their dreaded loss this season as well. So the West looks like it should be highly competitive next year for the NBA at least.
oh, for sure.
All right, moving right along. I just want to recap the NFL a little bit and hit some of the big stories here. So, Dan Quinn and GM Dimitrov out in Atlanta after an 0-5 start. What do you think?
Yeah, that's kind of expected. No, like with that roster, they should
I don't think so.
never start 0-5 with that roster. So
Well, I don't know. Like in just watching the Falcons this year, Matt Ryan seems to have lost a little bit of zip on some of his passes. You look at like Teddy Bridgewater like playing against him this week. Teddy's like just slinging balls to his receivers, and Matt Ryan just like a little bit short all the time. It seems like, or doesn't have enough velocity where the DB has enough time to make a play. If you look at the pick at the end of the game or last week against the Packers. It was just a little bit short, and the DB was able to make a play on it on 4th down, and then even this week throwing a pick in the end zone. I mean, if this team ends up going like something ridiculous and sputtering and going 0-16, like their blessing in disguise can be Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I think like if they get Trevor Lawrence, that's a good situation for him to walk into. They have the receivers that are like Julio's one of the best in the league when he's healthy, and Calvin Ridley's really good as well. Hayden Hurst, solid tight end.
This
So
the Zacharias guy looks really good for them too. Coming out of nowhere, to be honest.
oh yeah,
He seems
they
to be catching a lot of passes.
I would assume that they might draft a quarterback regardless of where they finish, just because Matt Ryan's getting a little old. So, good situation for a rookie QB to walk into. I think their O line's pretty good. I haven't watched them that closely to say, but they do have some names on that O line. So,
Yeah, I mean, they built basically for a Super Bowl run. They infamously blew the 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl.
oh
They
yeah,
lost to Nick Foles in the NFC Championship. I mean, they had a good window, but they paid a lot to keep their veteran players, and often in the NFL that doesn't like work out too great a lot of the time. Look at Bill Belichick; he just cuts all his veteran players or trades them away,
yeah,
and they are able to sustain success over how long. But I mean, like even you got probably consider trading a guy like Julio. Like he's getting to that age where he's gonna be often injured. It seems like, and I'm sure you can get a huge haul for him.
yeah. I have no idea what his health is like, but like if you're bringing in a rookie quarterback, I think it'd be best for them to keep him at least for the start,
Oh, for
because Julio
sure.
is definitely someone that could probably bail out maybe some mistakes that a rookie quarterback would make, but they gotta figure. I mean, I guess the new coach and GM might help this out, but they gotta stop blowing leads. Like they've blown leads this year to cause losses.
Yeah,
So I think that's a bit of a deeper issue than
yeah.
just a roster.
I don't know. Matt Ryan he's just never been able to close out games. Like, and
Yeah.
it just seems like that's just followed him his entire career. I don't know. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say I feel bad for the guy because he's making fucking bank.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice to see him win, but I mean, if you can't hold the leads deep into the game, you got real problems.
Yeah. And there's lots of guys that deserve to win that haven't. So he's not alone in that boat.
Oh, for sure. All right, I just want to move along to one of the more gruesome things we saw over the weekend. Dak Prescott suffered a compound fracture dislocation. Bone was sticking out. You can see it through the sock. Pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
If you want to watch it, I'm sure it's pretty easy to find. If you don't deal with that kind of stuff too well, I would recommend not watching it. But yeah, he's out for the season. Confirmed 4 to 6 months, closer to 6 months. What do you think about this one?
Gross. So fucking gross. Like you could see, I got a text from my cousin right before it happened because my game was behind. It's like Dak's angle with the puke emoji. So I was looking at his leg
Yeah.
while the play was going on. Like something must happen here. So I'm watching his leg, and you can just see as he's going down. You can watch it crack, and you can start to get gruesome here, but you can kind of watch it flop around and he rolls up, and you just know immediately what it was. And but unless you're Tony Romo, if
Yeah.
you're Tony Romo, you thought it was a cramp.
Yeah, I don't think like I understand the whole positive vibes thing, but
Yeah.
like, come on, Tony.
Yeah,
Like
come
man,
on,
his
Tony.
ankle's hanging there.
Different foot cramp doesn't make your foot point the wrong way.
I mean, Andy Dalton. I mean, he's an established quarterback in Cincinnati, but again, like couldn't perform in the big game. Doesn't do so well against the blitz. I have to think the NFC East is probably going to have a winner with a sub 500 record potentially.
Probably. Andy Dalton's probably a best case scenario for backups, so I guess they're a little fortunate in that regard. Like, he's definitely in the top of the backups in the league. I don't know all the backups, so it might be wrong, but that's not. They're not in an awful situation. But yeah, that division is brutal, and now it's worse. So
My real concern is they beat the Giants by 3 points.
yeah,
Like the Giants are so bad.
Giants are bad.
Like even like on a roster on paper thing, like there's no way this game should be close for Dallas, but
No,
I mean then again they win on a last minute field goal. And it just snuck in too. Like
yeah,
this is kind of concerning. And from Dak's side of things, like he's got to be a little bit regretful for not signing a big ticket.
yeah. It's unfortunate for him because he's gonna have to sign probably a cheaper deal again coming out of this year. Because he was on 1 year, right?
Probably franchise tag. He was on franchise tag.
Yeah, so he'll probably get a similar situation. I don't see them giving him a big contract at the end of this year. They weren't going to give him one before. So, who knows?
As much as Jerry Jones is like saying how he's our leader and that kind of stuff. He's got to like the fact that he's probably not going to have to dish him a big contract. Like as awful as it sounds, but that's just the realistic situation. Is the Cowboys have a ton of leverage here.
Yeah, no, not a good situation for Dak. It's just unfortunate. That's like
All right,
such a
but on
rare
the other
injury.
side, yeah, on the other side though, we have Alex Smith comes back and plays football after almost or just over 2 years. Or no, was it just under 2 years of the anniversary of his
Yeah,
big leg snap.
yeah, that was
Um,
gross too. Oh,
yeah, which is also gross. But I mean, Washington's O line didn't really help him. He got sacked 6 times,
yeah,
which you probably don't want to be feeling after coming back after such a gruesome leg injury. But the leg looks good, clearly.
yeah. I mean, it was nice to see him get back in. His family was in the stands. I was like, I watched some of it, and his one of his first plays, Aaron Donald just jumped on his back. I'm just thinking like, oh, that is not the way you want to start this. But his leg held up, which is good. So
Yes, definitely very good news
yeah,
for Alex. The problem for the Washington is they can't figure out quarterback. They get blown out by the Rams. Probably another bad season in Washington there. Don't even have a name for your franchise,
yeah.
so
Mind you, I think like the team sucks, but I think Alex Smith could probably help them. He was serviceable wherever he's played, so it might be an improvement on Dwayne Haskins or Kyle Allen. But I guess we'll have to see what goes on there. They're expected to stink anyways, so it's not like the expectations are high for him.
given they could probably win, they might be able to win the division at 6-10 if they go on a little bit of a run.
Yeah, that's the thing with that division. Like just kind of run with it, see what happens. You never know.
For sure. All right, so we saw the Raiders upset the Chiefs in a big surprising fashion this week. The Raiders are now 3-2. Are they potentially competition for the Chiefs in the division?
Probably a little bit. I still think the Chiefs are definitely better. Maybe had a bit of an off game, but mind you, the Chiefs still struggled against the Chargers too. So they are looking a little human this year. So I guess it'll be.
The Chiefs struggled for most of the game against the Patriots without Cam
That's
Newton
true.
and the Patriots traveling on the same day too.
Yeah, and with like weird expectations going into it because of the COVID stuff, right? They probably weren't allowed to practice all week.
Exactly.
So yeah, they're looking a little human. So I definitely think they're the best team in the AFC, probably in the NFL still. But they do look more beatable than they did at the start of the year.
I don't know. The Raiders seem pretty good. Like they were competitive with the Bills at least. I mean, they kind of looked outclassed, but then they go in like they beat the Saints on Monday Night Football. It's just kind of up and downs for this kind of team, which is like most teams in the NFL. But like Derek Carr looked good again. Josh Jacobs is reliable on the ground, and they torched the Kansas City defense, which has been rather suspect kind of all year.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I think they're definitely beatable. So it'll be something to watch definitely down the stretch. I don't know if the Raiders will win the division. I think the Chiefs are probably still gonna find a way to pull it out. It's still Patrick Mahomes with all the weapons that a quarterback could probably dream of. So I think,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I'm sure Patrick Mahomes will have something to say about that. They'll probably blow whoever they play next week. If they play the Bills, so maybe not. I expect a good game there too.
yeah,
Um, all right, so the Steelers might have found another complete gem at receiver, and it's kind of frustrating for the rest of the league. Chase Claypool had 4 touchdowns, caught 3, and ran in for 1. Here's just some names for you in recent time that the Steelers have line up at wide out there. Mike Wallace, Hines Ward, Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and now potentially Chase Claypool if he keeps trending the way he is.
yeah. No, they've always been pretty good at drafting and developing their players. Like you saw, like those. I don't know about Mike Wallace and Emmanuel Sanders because those are little whiles back, but Antonio Brown was like a fifth round pick, wasn't he? And I think Chase
Yeah,
Claypool was
yeah.
a third or a fourth round pick. Definitely know how to.
He's a second round
Oh,
pick.
he was a second round pick. My bad. But
Yeah.
still, it's not like your top first round talent. They're definitely finding ways to make their lower picks work out for them. It might be a testament
Yeah, definitely
to.
got a shout out.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it definitely might be a
I say
test.
you got a shout out.
Damn.
Nice.
All right, try again. You go first.
So definitely got to shout out Chase Claypool here. Good Canadian boy out of Abbotsford, BC. You don't see a lot of Canadians make such an impact in the NFL, especially in their rookie
No,
years.
definitely not. Well, even just Canadians making the NFL, there's not a ton of them, and then to have one make headlines like that throughout the week,
It's
that's
it's refreshing to see.
yeah, it's nice to see. Love to support the Canadian boys, obviously.
And yeah, what were you
Oh
gonna
no, it
say?
might just be a testament to Roethlisberger making receivers maybe look better than they actually are. But
He's actually so
I think
underrated,
so.
Roethlisberger. I
He's won
think
Super Bowls. Like people forget about him because he hasn't won a Super Bowl in a while, but that's partly because Brady dominated the conference during his 30s and Ben didn't. So
Ben's been hurt a little bit too.
yeah,
I mean, the Steelers always seem to have a good team though. Like, even without Roethlisberger last year, Mike Tomlin always does a great
oh yeah,
job coaching,
great coach.
and like they're even like competitive last year without a quarterback, basically. Like
Yeah, they almost made the
it's
playoffs and they were
it's
down to their third string for parts of the year.
and it's so frustrating to see that like being like seeing like being a Jets fan is so frustrating to see a team like that be good all the time. You have a third string quarterback and your team's like that team's still good, but like the Steelers go out and find like these receivers from all over the place. Like they get like Deontay Johnson too, and the
Oh
Jets
yeah,
can't even field a serviceable team in general, let alone like skill position. Like it's so frustrating.
yeah. That's why you look back, you got to think a lot of it's coaching because there's so many teams that will just pull guys out of what seems like nowhere and make them serviceable and make them make plays in the field. And there's just some teams that just never get it right.
I swear the 49ers like they just like pulled the fastest guy they can find off the street to be the running back too. It's insane. Like kind of segueing with the 49ers here.
Oh,
Fitzmagic is continuing his roller coaster of the Fitzpatrick career as he chugs on. He looks like the MVP candidate this week.
yeah.
And then another week, he looks like the guy who shouldn't even be in the league anymore. We're to a point where it's almost comical. Um, but the Dolphins dominate the 49ers in such a weird fashion this week that I don't think a lot of people saw coming.
No, it's weird. What the Dolphins are a weird team to kind of like pick and bet on because they could be an absolute garbage sale, or they could be world beaters. They put up what 43 points against the Niners.
Yeah, they won
Yeah,
43-17.
yeah. I don't think anybody saw. Never mind. Like people probably didn't see them winning. Never mind winning by that much.
Oh, I don't think anybody had them by that much of a margin.
No.
And the Dolphins play the Jets next week. All right, so
Oh God.
like they're 8 point favorites right now as we're talking. Like I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins win 45-7 or the Jets win like 28-21. Like
Yeah, you never know with
neither way would surprise me.
no. Well, Fitzpatrick's always been the guy. He can get you to 6-10. He'll have some great games, and he'll have some absolute bummers in there. So that's kind of what's expected.
It's so weird. He just has it sometimes, and he just looks so good. Even at like he's 37 right now. Like
Yeah, he's up there.
he's and like obviously he's a smart guy. Went to Harvard and this kind of stuff, so he can kind of rely on his brain a little bit. I would think at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's quite the character overall. To be honest with you.
Yeah. He's got to go play for the Pats
All
though
right.
after this. Complete the whole AFC East.
Yeah. The AFC East division tour. It's kind of surprising he hasn't played for the Broncos of all teams, because of he's basically done a tour of half the NFL, and the Broncos always seem to be looking for a quarterback the last little bit.
Yeah.
Saints just tied it up on Monday Night Football here. Interesting.
Oh yeah, I just saw that.
Had a good game now. Anything else you want to highlight from the NFL this week?
The NFL. I guess we're recording before Tuesday, but it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be missing for the Titans because of COVID tomorrow night. They haven't. I don't. Unless I missed it. They haven't released who has it. So or who's tested positive or who's out. And I'm assuming their facilities are still closed. So I don't know how good that game's going to be tomorrow.
It's definitely a better beware game, I would think. Probably going to stay away.
Oh yeah,
from
definitely
that
stay
game.
away from that one. Maybe hammer some Bills overs and different yardage
Some
stuff.
props, yeah.
But other than that, I wouldn't
maybe.
bet any lines or anything like that.
For sure. All right, so recently we've had the NHL draft and NHL free agency. So we kind of want to highlight some of the notable signings and moves and kind of give our take on it here. So the first one I want to highlight that kind of happened actually that broke today. This is Monday night. Alex Pietrangelo, 7 years, 8.8 million per to the Vegas Golden Knights. This puts Vegas over the cap by $7 million, which is kind of concerning. But you're allowed to go over 10% for those who don't know during the offseason. And they just traded Nate Schmidt to Vancouver for a third-round pick, which is ultimately a salary dump for them.
Yeah.
What do you think of this signing?
I think it's a good sign for them. He's one of the best defensemen in the league, and I think, what'd you say, he's making $8 million per roughly. So
8.8 over 7 years.
how old is he?
He's 30 right now.
That might not end well, but for now, I think it's pretty good. And I think
you see a lot of these deals where the GMs sign these guys and they're not playing out the whole contract. They know they're going to be buying them out at the end.
yeah, like he's either just gonna cost you a lot for maybe some underperforming at the end, or you're gonna have to cap dump him to like Ottawa or someone that wouldn't mind taking a high cap hit with a low cash salary. No, definitely a good signing for them. Whoever he was gonna sign for was gonna be a good signing, unless it was like the Leafs who would have absolutely cash drafted themselves doing it. But
Well, Vegas has kind of done that to themselves, though.
yeah,
Like, they've already had to move out Nate Schmidt. Mind you, Pietrangelo just replaces Schmidt basically.
and he's
And they
much
ship a
better.
third round, and they get a third round pick back. I'm kind of surprised they didn't have to offset some assets, just given that Vancouver's in the division, so they might want to pressure them. I would say into kind
Yeah.
of keeping them over the cap. I would say.
Plus, you see, nobody wants to help out my Lightning get out of cap hell. So it's interesting
Yeah,
to
so I
see
mean, I was kind of
other
surprised
teams
that
help out other teams when Tyler Johnson is clearing waivers for free, but Nate Schmidt's getting traded for a third round pick.
Yeah, I mean it's defenseman though, and it might be a little bit more of a need. Apparently, the forward market has just like cratered in. So I mean,
Yeah, no, and the cap staying flat is not helping at all either. Teams
No,
just
definitely not.
don't have as much as they originally planned for. But yeah, I think you had more free agents you want to talk about.
Yeah, so the next one is Taylor Hall signs a 1 year, $8 million deal to the Buffalo Sabres, which is very surprising for a lot of people. What's your take on this one here?
That came out of nowhere. Like, what was I doing? I don't know what I was doing, but I hadn't checked Twitter in probably an hour or so, and there was nothing about him going there. And then all of a sudden, all like the credible TSN and Sportsnet guys were tweeting about it, and the Buffalo media was going bananas because they just signed Taylor Hall. So it was like, holy shit! Did not think that was going to happen at all.
Yeah, no, this deal was fucking crazy to me.
No.
Apparently, he didn't get a lot of bigger offers at that kind of money, which I don't exactly see as too much of a surprise, just given he had kind of a down year. Though obviously he does have the potential in him. But he is kind of getting to that 30 age in the NHL where you start to kind of get obsolete in today's NHL at least.
Yeah,
I do love this move for Buffalo though.
Oh, for sure, because they're gonna probably definitely be better because you'll have I guess another top tier player in the NHL playing with Jack Eichel.
Star winger.
Yeah, and I think you got to think for Hall, this is probably the best center he's gonna play with through his whole career. I can't think of him playing with anyone better. I'm assuming he didn't play with
McDavid, but they are on different lines.
Okay, I didn't know if he played with McDavid at all. I couldn't remember if they were there at the same time or whatnot.
Maybe they traded him for Larson before, but I don't think so.
Did he win the Hart his first year in New Jersey?
Yeah.
That was the 2017-2018 season. So I guess he would have had 2 years with McDavid.
Yeah, I guess so.
But McDavid's hurt his rookie year. I don't know if how much they played together. But assuming he plays with Eichel, that's
for a full season, yeah.
Yeah,
could be deadly for sure. Even if Skinner or Olofsson or Reinhart is on that other wing, Buffalo's top six is going to look pretty dangerous, which is definitely a change from the last few years over in Buffalo.
Oh yeah, you
So
got to think the fans are excited, but they might just do what Buffalo Sabres have done and just crush their dreams 30 games into the year.
I mean, they probably still have to make a few moves in order to be like contenders, but I think sneaking into one of the bottom slots in the playoffs seems like a reasonable expectation for them, at least.
Yeah, I think they have a shot. It'll be interesting to see how the season plays out when it does, and if that's gonna maybe even help them a little bit.
For sure. All right, so just moving right along to the next signing here. Torrey Krug signed a 7-year deal at 6.5 million per over 7 years. If I think I already mentioned that. What do you think of this for St. Louis?
I think he replaces Petrangelo, kinda. I think they shoot different. Like I think one's lefty, one's righty, so it kind of helps them balance out their defense actually a little bit. I was just surprised that they
Mm-hmm.
did it before Petrangelo signed. Right? Like I would have like
Yeah, it was kind of surprising, but I mean, if you know there's like a real bad chance Petrangelo doesn't sign, I mean, a guy like Torrey Krug isn't going to be on the market for that long, I would think.
no, that's true. And I think Petrangelo had said he was surprised that they had signed somebody because maybe he expected that he might have gone back still, but maybe St. Louis had already moved on internally. So you don't really know what goes on
Well, I
behind the
know
scenes, but
I know just from reports that the real issue with Petrangelo was the signing bonuses. That St. Louis doesn't really give out a lot of signing bonuses,
mm,
and that's kind of where they held firm. It wasn't necessarily the actual the term and the overall salary. Maybe they lowballed him just a little bit, just looking at what he got in Vegas. He
yeah,
was looking to something similar to the Krug deal, maybe just a little bit more, but St. Louis wanted it to be all salary as opposed to signing bonus. So I think that's kind of where negotiations really like puttered out.
yeah,
But still, yeah, this only thing with Krug though is the back end of his deal. I mean, smaller defenseman. I don't think this is going to be a great deal in the fifth,
at
sixth,
the
seven
end.
years. I think for the short term it'll be really good for them, but because the guy's a hell of a player,
Yeah,
really.
he's a good player. So sometimes you have to give those extra terms out to get them now. Mind you, you never know.
Exactly, for
He
sure.
might, he might. Maybe they age well and the contracts look great the
Yeah,
the whole
no.
thing. So
St. Louis's cup window could be closed by then, so it might not even be like that horrible for them to be honest.
yeah, like
All
I have
right.
no idea who's in their system, so I don't know how long their window's open for.
Yeah, exactly. But like even with a lot of these teams, it's normally either 3 to 5 years in the NHL. Like some teams get an
Yeah.
extended one, but all right. So TJ Brody signs 4 years, 5 million per with the Leafs. The Leafs also bring back Jason Spezza, add Wayne Simmons, Zach Bogosian, Jimmy Vesey, all on 1 year deals for low amount of money. And they also deal Andreas Janssen in a presumable salary dump for a prospect from New Jersey. What do you think of these moves here for the Leafs?
Maybe not the exact players, but I think the kind of moves they made were kind of expected. They were always going to have to do cheap 1 year deals just because they don't have the cap space to give the long term and more expensive ones. So like you think see like maybe Wayne Simmons and Zach Bogosian they get a little tougher too as well, which is something they've definitely lacked since this regime's been there. Um,
Yeah,
TJ Brody signing 4x5 I think was a little surprising with them. I didn't think they'd be able to get the cap flexibility to do that, but I guess if they made it work, it might work out well for them. They desperately needed help on their back end, so
I do love. I really do like the signing for the Leafs. TJ Brody. I mean, he's always brought a good element to his game. With Calgary in this past couple of years, moved the puck pretty well. I mean, it kind of sucks that Calgary wasn't going to be able to retain him, and they're going to move on. I mean, Calgary's kind of in a little bit of a transition phase here, I would say, with their D corp. It's kind of surprising though, like going from Tyson Berry last year being your big acquisition to now like TJ Brody's the next guy in Toronto, because if he starts out slow and he's like -10 in the first 20 games of the season, those Toronto fans are going to be on him pretty quickly.
yeah. And Brody's on a 4-year deal at 5 mil, not one by like 3 mil, whatever they actually got from Barry's salary. So I think, unfortunately not unfortunately, but he's gonna have to perform quick, or else he's gonna have people on his back pretty fast.
Yeah, for sure. The difference here between Brody and Barry, I would say, is Brody gets to play with Morgan Riley, who's definitely a top 20 defenseman in the league. I mean, he's been unbelievable at both ends for a little bit of time now, which he's always been trying to look for a partner in crime, which they just really haven't been able to find. But I think this will stabilize their top D pairing. But Toronto is in a little bit of a cap hell situation here, so it might be interesting for them to wiggle through this again in the next few years.
Yeah, I know with the expansion drafts, it's gonna be interesting to see what with them and every cap team does. Who do you leave some big contracts exposed just to get someone out of there? But we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely an efficient way to get somebody off that you might not necessarily want to keep.
Yeah.
Anton Khudobin. Dallas brings back the coveted goalie duo at 3 years at $3.333 repeating $1 million. They also signed Radim Faksa for 5 years at $3.25 million. Bring back Sekera at 2 years at $1.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
So Dallas just kind of reloads, or not necessarily reloads, but brings back some key pieces to their cup run.
Yeah, I think the Khudobin one is good. It's not too much money and it's not too much term. And I would assume that Ben Bishop is still the starter when he's healthy. So
yeah, for sure.
You have Ben Bishop still, and then you have a backup on a reasonable amount of money. Really, 3.3 isn't that much. Vasquez really good for them, and yeah, I think for them bringing the core guys back that just went to the cup final is key rather than bringing in new guys.
Yeah, definitely not a bad idea when you make the cup to keep the same guys around because clearly they're capable of it. Fox is a good depth guy for him, like second, third liner can play basically up and down the lineup. Great pivot option, and then $3.25 million for him is a good
it's not a
hometown discount, I would say a little bit.
It doesn't cripple you
especially
there.
given the flat cap.
Yeah,
and he gets the good turn that he wants, I'm assuming. So
yeah,
definitely, and it's probably not going to be a buyout contract either because it's not that difficult now in the NHL to play up to $3.25 million.
No, not
as
at
long
all.
as you're defensively sound, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, as mentioned earlier, Tyson Barrie, 1 year, $3.75 million to Edmonton. Edmonton also picks up Kyle Turris on a 2 year, $1.65 million per, along with Edmonton retaining Jesse Puljujarvi and Mike Smith re-upping. What do you think?
Yeah, it's good for them. The Barry contract, he's kind of betting on himself there, I think, trying to get a bigger deal after he kind of disappointed in Toronto.
Playing the power play with McDavid and Draisaitl just feeding them. They're going to rack up apples, I would say.
The point total should be high, so that's a good spot for him to bet on himself, so hopefully it works out. I want Edmonton to be good. Like, they have good players. You want to see McDavid succeed, so hopefully it'll work out for him.
I think this Kyle Turris deal is a sneaky pickup.
Yeah, I think so too.
He really doesn't care about how much money he's making because as Nashville's going to be paying him $4 million over the next 8 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's really not going to care too much about the money, and he can slide in as probably their third line center. And I think he's definitely a serviceable third line center. Like definitely a change of pace guy, kill penalties, that kind of stuff for them. And Jesse Puljujarvi is an interesting thing because they got him back on 2 years at pretty cheap. If this guy comes back and is just a world beater, that's going to be a great contract for them.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think the problem for them has been a little bit of depth scoring. So if he can, provide a little bit of second, third line scoring behind McDavid and Draisaitl, that would be ideally what they need to.
Well, he might be playing with them now.
That's true too, but it's just like anyone other than McDavid and Draisaitl providing has kind of been a bit of an issue for them. Mind you, they did finish 5th in points percentage in the West, right? So it's not like they're terrible. They just didn't win their playing games. So.
Well, when their problem was when McDavid's not on the ice, they're terrible.
Yeah,
so,
but that's gonna happen when you have a best player in the world. If you're missing him, you're gonna suffer.
Yeah, but it's just you can't get scored on. That's the thing when he's not on the ice. And this Mike Smith bringing him back, and I saw a lot of Edmonton outcry. He got $2 million, and he was not good last year. And he's on the definitely the back nine of his career. Save percentage hovering around 900. Mikko
Yeah, it's not
Koskinen's
very good.
your second option there. I mean, Edmonton's probably in the same situation as they are in the goaltending here. Like, especially with like Chicago scored a ton of goals on them in the playoffs, and they got manhandled by Vegas. So, I mean, I think Edmonton definitely needs to find another level here.
Yeah. How many years did Mike Smith get? Just one?
He only just got 1 year, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you want someone to be good now, but I think betting on him to have a bounce back year because he's been, I guess, a little inconsistent throughout his career, having good years and then some bad years and some good years again. So 2 mil isn't a lot. If it doesn't work out, then you move on. You sign somebody different next year, hopefully. But it is a little weird considering that there was goalies on the market this year that they just didn't try and get one. That is,
Yeah, they
a
didn't
little
really do
more.
too much.
Yeah, one that's maybe a little more proven.
So, speaking of betting on your bounce back, like Mike Smith, Viget is the first social network app for sports fans and sports bettors. The Viget mobile platform allows people to get their skin in the game without risking real money. With over 17,000 users currently, it allows fans to compete head to head with their friends while following their favorite teams and industry insiders with access to odds, scores, and statistics all in one central location. There's great information available, like line movements and where the public money is. You can find the Ramblin and Gamblin crew on the Viget app for all of our picks. Download with promo code RNG20 and receive 1,000 coins. Now, these coins can be cashed out for Amazon gift cards, and it's all for free. And did I mention it's free? That again is the Viget app, promo code RNG20, and receive 1,000 coins available on the App Store or Google Play Store. So, just moving right along after our nice Viget ad read. Jacob Markstrom goes to Calgary on a 6x6. Calgary also picks up Chris Tanev at 4 years at $4.5 million. This is an interesting move to me for Calgary as they're trying to become the Vancouver Canucks, apparently.
Yeah, they're in a weird spot with their team. Like you look at them and they have some young players that look like they can do some damage, but they feel like they also just have some old players that are just kind of holding back. So it's I don't know. They're in a tough situation there, or like not tough, but
Mind
just
you,
weird.
I do like the Markstrom pickup just because their problem was in net last year between Riddick and Cam Talbot. Like they didn't
Yeah,
really have a ton of stability, like kind of going back and forth, and either guy could kind of catch fire if you want to say it that way. Um, but like I don't know, he's 30 years old, back end of that deal, paying $6 million for a 35, 36-year-old goalie probably isn't gonna be the greatest, but I think Calgary's kind of in a win now mode. They've almost turned it up to. Got to look at guys like Monahan, Goudreau. These guys have been carrying the load, but they just haven't shown up in the prime time. So I think they're kind of betting on their guys to get it done.
yeah, they're kind of betting they can get it done now and then just deal with the cap problems later. If they haven't, like goalie at 36, maybe he ages well. Goalies might last a little longer than skaters will, so 36 isn't terrible, but I'll have to wait and see, I guess.
This almost reminds me of like a mini Tampa. They're locking their guys up. I mean, sticking with the group. They end up getting it done in the end.
Yeah, that would be ideal for them. Get the
But
cup the third
book is out
desperately
on
after.
that one.
Yeah.
All right, and that's going to wrap up the notable free agents. I kind of want to move along to the trades here. Columbus received Max Domi and a third-round pick from Montreal for Josh Anderson, and then Montreal immediately locks him up to a 7-year deal. What do you think?
The trade was whatever for me. I think the weird part was the immediate 7-year contract. Like he's good. He's kind of like Tom Wilson, but not as good as Tom Wilson. And they gave him 7 years. He's had some injury problems. I'm surprised they didn't let him play it out, let him, prove his worth a little bit before signing him. But he is kind of a bit of a player that they needed, a little bit of a tougher forward. Might help out their young.
I think if you sign him for 7 years, you get him at a little bit less money, like value. So I think, especially for Bergevin too, he's been making a few moves. He's picked up to Foley.
Yeah.
So I think if Bergevin doesn't make the playoffs this year, he's kind of under wraps because he's kind of wasting Carey Price's career, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think he has to make playoffs. in this next couple of years even. So I think locking up Anderson is a low risk move for him, just because if it doesn't work out, he won't be there to deal with it. So
That's true. And if he's still there when the contract becomes bad in 4 years and he's still there, he probably did something to, secure his job. So it might not be a big problem for him. But
I just think it's low risk for him. I like the move.
yeah, I was just thinking like the number kind of surprised me being that high. Like he's making almost as much as Tom Wilson makes when I don't think he's.
I think it was like 30, 35 over 7 years.
Yeah, and Tom Wilson's was what 6/6 by 7.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think he's got more upside than Wilson. Like he plays that nasty game, which Montreal ever so desperately needs, and I think just the goals upside will be is a little bit higher than Wilson. So I actually do like Montreal to bet on this guy.
yeah, I do like the player. He was like when Tampa played Columbus last year, he was a pain in the ass to play against. It seemed like so. Definitely a player you want on your team. It's just I was surprised to see 7 years right off the bat.
And I do like Max Domi going to Columbus. If he can kind of step his game up a little bit, I think he's a great second line center behind Dubois there, and I think he's gonna. I just think his personality and that kind of stuff is gonna mesh well with how Torts coaches. So.
Oh, for sure. I think he's definitely a Torts player. Assuming they get along and they see eye to eye, I think.
Assuming they get along.
I think he'll do well there. And
Torts isn't gonna give a shit though. He'll eat him up.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's only I think they re-signed him to a 2-year deal. So I mean,
kind of hope he does well there.
Oh yeah.
He seems like he's always been so close to being so good, but just hasn't quite got there yet.
Yeah, for sure. Bounce around for a couple teams. Hopefully, another change of scenery can light the fire a little bit.
Yeah.
Another big trade was Matt Murray going to Ottawa for a second-round pick in this year's draft, like the one that just passed.
Mm-hmm.
52 overall pick, which is kind of towards the back of the back of the second round.
Yeah.
What do you make of this for Ottawa and Matt Murray?
There was always talks about Matt Murray getting traded, right? I guess Ottawa made sense, but I never really thought of Ottawa. But I think it's good for Ottawa. They need a goalie. And while he did have a down year, he proven he won 2 cups, so you kind of bet that he can have some type of consistency with you, right?
Yeah.
And they had so many picks that giving up a second-round pick is like nothing for them. They had, 4 second-round picks in this draft, so...
Yeah, they had a crazy amount of picks in the top 3 rounds.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't go after a younger guy.
I have no idea
how old he is.
Based on the makeup
of their team.
No idea.
He's like 28, I think.
That's not bad for a goalie.
Because I guess he's RFA though, so maybe he's 27, 28. Yeah, no, I know that's not bad for a goalie, but just based on the makeup of that team.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of surprised, because they're not going to be good for probably 2 or 3 years. I would say.
Yeah, maybe they wanted that cup experience. A little bit of he's not necessarily what you consider a veteran. He is a veteran, but he's a younger veteran. He's won 2 cups. He's played with some great players. He might bring some good experience to the locker room, some leadership. Maybe something they don't really have with just the youth that they have on that team.
Yeah, for sure. He knows what it takes.
Yeah.
So San Jose, they pick up Ryan Donato and Devin Dubnyk. They shore up the goaltending a little bit and add a little bit of scoring for a 3rd and a 5th, respectively, for both players. The Sharks also get a 7th back towards them. Now, I was kind of surprised that San Jose got these kind of guys for low payment, really.
Yeah, they didn't pay a lot for them.
I mean, especially because, it was pretty well known that the Sharks need goaltending, given that Martin Jones really hasn't performed well. Aaron Dell's on his way out. And then a guy like Ryan Donato, who is still young. He's still only 24 years old. Definitely see a lot of guys that end up blossoming at 25, 26 to kind of find their way. So I think this guy's got upside of 25 goals, maybe 25, 30 goals.
Yeah, so. I forget that he's 24. I feel like he's been around forever.
Exactly. So. He's played with Boston, so knows the winning culture.
Yeah.
A lot of people discredit the locker room aspect. So I don't know. I think it's a sneaky pickup for San Jose.
It's definitely a low risk pickup. Worst case scenario, he plays on your third or fourth line and doesn't do much. You didn't pay much for him, so
Exactly. Yeah. And from a Minnesota standpoint, they're trying to change everything. It seems like Bill Guerin recently acquires Nick Bonino. I mean, he's kind of finding some old Pittsburgh guys in there even, and they just want a complete culture change.
Yeah, he got put it Bill Guerin got put in a tough spot because I'm pretty sure he got hired after free agency last year. Because I remember Chuck Fletcher, he signed Matt Zuccarello, and then he got fired shortly after. So Bill Guerin didn't really have the opportunity to do much with the team. So
yeah,
he's kind of having to do that now. So.
Well, I think he wanted to take 1 year to kind of evaluate the team, and especially if you're put into this spot in the NHL where you're kind of in that mediocrity point, which is kind of what Minnesota's known for. You really don't want to be in that spot because you never draft high enough to have a surefire prospect to kind of change your team, but you never make it far enough to do anything. So.
No,
I mean, I think he's trying to avoid that at this point.
They've been the definition of first round, second round exit for the last how many years?
So. Yeah, exactly. Or just missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right. The last one I want to kind of bring up here is Paul Stastny goes to the Jets. He's got 1 year left on his deal for a fourth rounder and a prospect. This seems a little bit like a salary dump from Vegas again. Have kind of moved bringing in Peter Angelo and whatnot. I like this deal for Winnipeg, actually. He's played here before. He knows the team. The Laine and Ehlers were really good with him.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the big one is he played with I know that Laine is on the trade bait list, but I think that they'd probably rather keep Laine at the production he used to put up. So if you bring back a familiar face where he was successful, because I think Stastny was there when they went to the conference final. So you bring him back, and hopefully it sparks Laine again because he could be so good, and you don't want to just trade him away because he had a bad year.
I don't know. Laine kind of reminds me of Ovechkin in his early years. He didn't really play defense, that kind of stuff. The guy just scored goals. And they're trying to get him to focus on, the defensive side of things where, I don't know, with a guy of his scoring caliber, I think you kind of just want him to focus on scoring goals. And then if you put him with a guy like Paul Stastny, who's he's very responsible defensively, kind of really knows what he's doing out there, instead of pairing him with maybe a younger center who isn't as defensively minded. I think it's a great spot to have Laine focus on goals. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts in 40 this year.
Yeah, I think
assuming an 82 game schedule.
Assuming, yeah, and it kind of was a cap dump for Winnipeg, but that's a player or a cap dump for Vegas. But that's a player like you said really helps out Winnipeg, so makes sense why they.
And 1 year deal if he performs well, he can entice him to stay too.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, see you later.
All right, so just about done wrapping up the NHL. I want to move to our Screw It Bet segment. Do you have anything queued up on tap?
I don't. Do you?
Yeah. The one thing I was looking at was the Bengals money line this week against the Colts. Man, watching Philip Rivers play against the Browns this week was just brutal. I mean, if Philip Rivers is confirmed getting the start, I think you have to take the Bengals here. Just straight up. I like Joe Burrow. He had a little bit of an off game this week against the Ravens, but the NFL is infamous for bounce back after playing bad for a couple weeks. And I don't know, Indianapolis just seems handicapped with Philip Rivers. That being said, if Brissett gets the start, I don't think you should take it. Just because I think him being injected into that lineup is going to change the dynamic of the team. And I'm sure Cincinnati's already started game planning for Rivers, so
yeah.
Take Bengals, money line. I think it's about 4-1 right now. Could be a big payoff.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of looking through the games next week, and I think that's the only one where I would kind of have a screw it. I'm looking at these games, some of these games just
a lot of good games next week. Actually,
there's a lot of good games, but there's some games where I'm just not interested at all. I do not want to watch the Falcons and the Vikings next week. The Bears and Panthers also doesn't sound interesting to me.
That should be interesting. That should be interesting just because the Bears are the biggest 4-1 frauds, I think.
Oh
But
yeah, for sure.
Bears go 5-1. Like that's pretty damn good. It seems pretty legit.
Yeah, but the Panthers have been playing a bit better, so never know with that. Like
For sure.
I'm not watching.
For sure.
I'm not watching the Giants play the football team. Like that's a bad game.
Yeah, nobody cares about that game. Nobody
Yeah.
cares about that game. The best result for that game is a freaking tie. It really is.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody deserves a win there.
That's a bad game. I think the Steelers, the Browns is a very good game.
That's a good game. That's a good
Ravens Eagles is interesting. Packers Bucks. Ooh, kind of like that.
Packers Bucks is going to be a good game. Niners and Rams should be a good game too.
Bills Chiefs, good game. Monday night at 5 p.m. weird time, but
Definitely.
followed by Cowboys and Cardinals, which is I don't know what to expect
Yeah,
there.
it could be interesting.
It'll be weird just because the injury. But yeah, no, I don't really have
Should be interesting.
a screw it bet this week.
We'll collab on the Bengals money line here.
Sure. I'll take
Alright.
Josh Allen at MVP, but that's not even a screw it anymore.
No, it's not anymore. It's that was before the year. All right, so we've been going for quite a while here, and be surprised if anybody's even still listening at this point. But we're just gonna wrap things up here, and make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Hammer at Bets. Be sure to follow at Ramblin and Gamblin and all of our affiliates as well. All right, thank you, and see you again next week.